Hello and welcome to this interview segment with Chief Fred Cowper. Almost retired.
Few hours.
A few hours left as of the taping date of this interview. Chief, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the time you've spent with the township, the legacy you've left behind. You've been with the township since October of 1998.
Yes.
Almost the same amount of time as I've been here. So we've done a lot of work together.
We have.
We have.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the changes that you've seen or you've helped institute since you became the chief here.
Well, going back to '98, I was hired, or the township had public safety.
Yes.
Which, unfortunately, the fire department took the brunt of the devastation during that period. So they wanted to hire a fire chief from 100 miles away that didn't have the history of what went on here. Mm-hmm. So Jerry Richards hired me, and I was hired to put the fire department back together. And as I said Wednesday at the luncheon, I believe that I'm leaving it better than I found it, which is important to me because that's what my father taught me. So going back to look at the fire department, it was devastated. That there was basically duct tape on the fire engines holding doors shut. Mm-hmm. We had at the time 3 lieutenants who were part of a suppression. All 3 of them could be off on the same day, so they didn't have any fire officers on duty. They had a culture where the senior firefighter didn't have to go on calls. And well, you can imagine how popular I was to break that one.
Yeah, they've earned their due.
They didn't have any confined space rescue teams or high angle rescue or hazmat. I mean, there wasn't a battalion chief. There wasn't anybody that went out and commanded at a fire.
Yeah, one of the earliest memories I have of one of the protocols or things that you put in place was Battalion Chiefs.
Yes.
And maybe if you could explain briefly for the public the importance of having Battalion Chiefs, why you wanted to bring that to Meridian Township, why you wanted that here.
Well, the battalion chief is really the supreme ruler in suppression. I go home at 5 o'clock, and I'm home on Saturdays and Sundays unless they need me. Battalion chiefs are here 24/7, and they command their battalion, 3 fire stations, and all the people who are on duty. When they go to a fire or a train wreck, a car accident, whatever it might be, they take command. They're in charge, and they do a great job of mitigating the emergency. They're in charge of everyone. They're a mentor, a leader, all those things to the people on their battalion. They're responsible for the safety, which is really important. Every day when the battalion chief was getting off duty, they would leave me a message, and at the end of the message they would say, "Chief, everyone's going home safe." Mm-hmm. And that meant a lot to me. So battalion chief is in charge of the fire department, or especially the emergency response of the fire department. Like I said, 24/7. So they ride in their own vehicle, so no matter where they are, they can respond. And again, they're in command, and they didn't have that here. They didn't have incident command, which is the formal way of handling any emergency. It's very organized, calculated. Everybody understands how it works, and eliminates freelancing and those kind of things that would get firemen injured. So it's a great way, a great rank in a fire department, and we initiated that as well as captains. They didn't have any captains, and a captain takes care of their fire station, no matter what it is, grass cutting, ordering paper towels or I mean, they are in charge. You know, they disseminate the work amongst all of the battalions, so the station is spick and span, cleaned every day, and everything operates properly. So we didn't have that. And the captain will become the acting battalion chief when the battalion chief is either on vacation or maybe funeral leave, sick leave, or whatever it might be. So everyone learns to do the next person's job in the fire service here. And, you know, it's the way it should be. I think we have a excellent succession plan that we put in place here.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard to get all of these implemented? Especially like the old way out, the new way, you know, change is hard.
Oh, you don't bring up the word change to the fire service because, you know, it is very difficult for change, and, you know, certainly have to have the unions buy in on that. And it makes it so much easier. So we would, you know, put out maybe a memo, and everybody read it, digest it, talk about it for 30 days. We're not doing anything. Let's meet and see if we can tweak it. Is it, you know, or we can try it for a year, and if it doesn't work, we can go back. So those are some of the steps that I was able to take to get people to come along, because we needed an immense amount of change here, and some was easier than others.
Did you have some people leave?
Well, there were people who left because when I was here in about 9 months, we got a contract finally, and it had some pension benefits and those kind of things. So the people that were eligible to leave, they did leave because they had the gain. They stuck with the department through thick and thin, and they did retire. Which, you know, was fine with me. We hired new people and tested, promoted, all those kind of things, and we, you know, we kept educating people in all these specialties, and then we started sending some of our members out to the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. That was really important. I was glad to see us finally take that step. You know, that was quite helpful, and today that's something we do every year with, you know, several people. It's invitation only, paid for by the federal government, but it's the finest institution in the United States for firefighter learning.
So aside from the protocols and the ranking system, getting things set up in place to basically properly run a fire department, what were some of the other, when you walked in, what were some of the other things you saw that were like, this is something that I would like to change while I'm at Meridian Township. This is something I would like to address that would be better for the residents?
Well, you know, our bread and butter is our ambulance transport, and that was almost eliminated. So having, you know, 85% of your calls being medical transport, there wasn't a leader in that area. There's like no one was running the ship there. Who's the liaison with the doctors and medicines and training and, you know, licensure and all these things, you know, ordering new ambulances, or no one. So, like, bless his heart, Jerry Richards did listen, and I asked him, I said, we need to have someone who can be full-time administration, and all they do is take care of the mental aspect of this department. It's greatly needed. So Jerry gave me the okay, and we tested, and Greg Hammond was our EMS coordinator for quite a while, and when, you know, he retired from here, became a full-time instructor in the military medic program at Lansing Community College. What a great asset! What a great job he did. You know, Dave Harper did a great job for us. You know, Dale Monier. I mean, going back to some of these names from the beginning, who he brought in to help put us where we are today, and very thankful for them. But
and all of the firefighters are trained in EMS.
Right. You have to be a paramedic to join the fire department. Obviously, fire trained and paramedic trained.
But it's not that way in all departments,
no,
in all
it's
municipalities.
Not. Right. We, in Michigan, I think we're the only fire department that places 2 paramedics on the ambulance. All the, our surrounding departments have a paramedic and a EMT. EMT can't start an IV, put a tube down the throat. They can't talk to the doctor. They can't look at the heart monitor and read what the heart is doing and those kind of things. Medicine, they can't distribute medicine. So it leaves the paramedic with all of these responsibilities, and but when you have 2 paramedics, you're getting twice the service, and then we always send a backup vehicle on a cardiac arrest, so we have 4 paramedics. Typically, 1 drives the ambulance to the hospital and 3 are in the back with the patient. And we got the award for being the best transporting agency as far as people with a cardiac arrest who walk out of the hospital. So it proves its weight in the way that we operate.
And let's talk about buildings, structures. Obviously, Central Fire Station, that was a major move.
It was, and it was, again, when I came here, and I can tell a little anecdote here, when they hired a company to find a fire chief, and I came from the Detroit area, and I said to my wife, I said, Meridian Township wants us to come out for 2 days and talk about being the fire chief, and Sue said, I'll tell you one thing, I'm not moving to Hooterville. Meridian has turned out to be anything but Hooterville. What a phenomenal community, Meridian Township is. It's a destination. So it was a great.
Did she feel like
great
it was
move.
Hooterville when she saw that old Central Fire Station?
No,
though?
When I walked into it, I said, how can this station be here in this community? This is a upscale community. You've got a really a 1950s firehouse. It wasn't functional, and we eventually had to close it because of the deplorable condition that it was in. We couldn't put people in there anymore. But really from the first day I walked in there, I started looking at, we need to build a new central fire station, because I was in the public safety building and I needed to be with my people. That has paid huge dividends. But
yeah, it's strange to be in a completely separate building.
Completely separate building. I got the battalion chief would come by for 15, 20 minutes, or I would drive over to the stations.
Yeah.
But to be there,
it's hard to communicate and manage and form your team and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what an asset. What a gift to the next fire chief coming in, which is Lori Schaefer in the interim. And she said, I never got to work in this station. And she's so excited about it. I said, well, you will now. And that, plus I get to be with everybody every day, all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's great.
And what a change for her and the other female firefighters, to have separate quarters and.
Right. Yeah, separate showers and bathrooms. Wow.
Yeah, what a concept.
How true. Yeah, but so that was the major goal, to build a new fire station. Took obviously a number of years, but we got to thank the residents. They voted for it, and I really appreciate that. And, a few hurdles there, but we got over them, and the station is built, and the station will be there for 75 years. So.
And was part of the protocol, the emergency operations plan, was that part of the whole structural setup of the firefighters and paramedics, or does it include the whole township as well?
As far as having our emergency operations center in the station?
Yeah,
about?
And the emergency operations plan, the document that was created, that was implemented, that the township board approved. And
yes, that is our agreement with the county. See, the Emergency Operations Center is based from the Sheriff's Department. I was for 15 years the Director of Fire and Rescue. Over the 20-year period, I had to respond there about 3 times for the car crash on 96, if you remember that.
Yep.
Tornado in Williamston, and then we had a snowstorm, but we didn't really activate anyone. So it's there when it's needed, but I was a part of that. But the township has a vested interest in that, and we have an agreement. If there's an emergency bigger than Meridian can handle, then we kick in the operations center for the county, and then they can bring in, all the state, local, they can bring in the federal. And we can get our money back if we have an emergency and those kind of things. So it works out very well. The downside is it can take up to 4 hours to get that up and running, which is, we thought was, it's great to have it. There's nothing we can do about that because of all the people that come there from wherever they come from. You have to get, the county commissioners to get approval to open it and that. But so we wanted to have something quick that we could do in the meantime. So we built an emergency operations center in the community room at the fire station. And we've used that. We've housed people overnight in there where they could have showers, heat, brought in food for them. So it worked out really well to serve the residents. So, but it's used for many, many things. Rotary has their lunches in there.
Yep. Right. So, what about like the fire chaplain? And was that something that you set up, or that wasn't here before?
No, it wasn't.
At least that I recall.
When we had a firefighter who died of Lou Gehrig's disease, it just brought the firefighters together. And they came to me and they said, we'd like to have a chaplain. And I said, okay, well, who are you looking at? Anybody? They said, yeah, Rick Stacy, And they meet at the junior high school. So Sue and I started to attend there because I wanted, wasn't in a hurry to get a chaplain. I wanted to make sure it had to be the right fit.
Yeah.
Okay. So we started attending there and got to know Rick Stacy and Donna, who passed away, and
Rick was the pastor of Meridian Christian Church, which became 242 recently in the last couple of years.
Exactly. But I waited a year, and I even said to him, "You're not going to like this, but I want you to do a background background with our police department." And he goes, "Okay." And he did, but he became the greatest chaplain ever. He really is. He responds all the time. But when you have a baby death or something like that, and the parents, and you need to have someone like that to take the parents, and he just does a great job. He goes to fires. I mean, and he will maintain his being the chaplain here until I guess, whenever the new chief or he decides they go elsewhere or whatever. But but I did, I got to be really good friends with him. It was just great how all those things happened. But I wanted to wait a year before I made him chaplain.
That's one of those things. It's not as well known as a building being built.
Right.
Having a chaplain in place to help people in their time of need. But it's important to have someone in place like that.
And I know he has counseled the firefighters, and that's private, see? But, that's between the firefighters and the chaplain.
Now, you have a little bit of work left to do. This is your last day, but you're kind of on a consulting basis. Right. And Lori's coming in. Chief Schaefer's coming in. First female fire chief for Meridian Township. So that's a legacy in and of itself.
It is.
And you have a little bit of work with some sirens that you want to help see through to fruition to cover the entire township.
Exactly. Yep. I have that all taken care of and planned out. We will be, we're budgeted to put a siren in probably around April. We'll have another edition. But we'll have it mapped out where we will, at some point in time, have the whole township covered. Right. And
what are some of your never forget moments that you have? You've been here for 19 years. What are some of the outstanding never forget moments for you?
I think, hiring Kristen, she has just been a jewel. And I remember doing the interviews. You had 45 applications, and we had people with master's degrees and people who were, you know, secretaries of CEOs and all this, and I wanted to make the interview complex, and so whoever came in wasn't, you know, my favorite color is red, and okay, we'll hire you. It was, you know, how would you figure out if I want to do something very complicated and connect this to that and notify or whatever, you know, I wasn't getting answers out. Some of these people coming in, they didn't know how to figure that out. And I mean, she came in a heartbeat. Said, "I'll do this," you know, and she just had it. And it's never stopped. She's been great. Hiring Kristen was great. Watching all of these, you know, firefighters who have hired and, you know, get promoted and what they have accomplished and what they can do. Watching the 2 battalion chiefs we have now who were firefighters when I got here. They were babies. They now command the department. You know, watching all of these people grow and mentor them and nurture them, and what a dividend that has paid. That is the most special part of this job that I've ever had. You know, just getting, you know, the feedback from people about how you saved my father's life, or whatever you've done. You know, if you wouldn't have got here so soon, my house would have burned down, all those things. It just continuously comes in. They do such a great job. They're just great, great people. And it's a pleasure to know them.
Who are your life influencers? How'd you get to where you're at today?
You know, I'll give the most credit to my wife. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'll tell you that right now. But, you know, my mom and dad. Had uncle was a Detroit fire chief. I had a friend that was a Warren fire chief. You know, I mean, eventually they made it the chief. I've known them for, you know, 55, 60 years. So they weren't chiefs back then, but they were very helpful with that, guiding me. You know, had some instruct teachers. I was a teacher before I was a firefighter. So I had some really great people in my life, but I think my dad was pretty steadfast. You know, I fought in World War II in the Philippines, and my father-in-law, Sue's dad, also fought in the Philippines in World War II. They were men of their word. I mean, they were firm, and whether you liked it or not, you know, my dad was strict, but he was never wrong. And they were great influences in my life. I think even as a fire chief here, Jerry Richards was very influential as well. He taught me a lot, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Who's going to help influence you during your retirement?
Sue.
What's your retirement protocol? Uncharted territory for you.
Grandchildren will have the biggest influence. They're the most fun. We have, you know, surrounded ourselves in their lives, or in Zach, my son, and Amy. Zach will graduate with his Bachelor of Nursing, and it looks like we could be headed. I shouldn't say where we're going to be headed, but he's doing his internship at U of M Hospital.
Okay.
So we can be headed out that direction.
That's great.
Mercedes is living in Washington, D.C. And we visited there already 5 times this year. So, you know, I love my children, and they will get the most of our attention. We have a home up north, and we will be there quite a bit in the summertime. And yeah, we will travel. Things I want to do, Sue wants to do. You know, I want to go to the Masters, the Kentucky Derby, and she wants to go to Poland, and so we believe we will accomplish all those things. You know,
You've earned it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was great. Been great working with you and your staff. It's been wonderful. Great. You know, I wouldn't. I'd do it over again if I could.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you for all these years. Hopefully we can get you down to do some stuff with us. You know, we take volunteers here at Home TV. So if we can get you back here, we'll try.
Okay, well, I'll leave that door open. How about that?
Okay. Never close a door, right?
No.
Never close a door. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want to thank you for watching this interview segment with retired Fire Chief Fred Cowper.